Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Nericus Ryan, and today I'm joined by
Nerdarcus Ted.
Nericus Dave.
And sometimes when your players aren't biting, it's time for the Clue by 4.
Hey guys, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we want to jump into another D&D discussion that was kind of inspired by the fan game that I ran the other night. And I started off kind of with a death trap.
It was like a Bond villain trap almost.
It was. You know, they're in a chamber. It's filling up with water. Every round, sharks would enter the water.
With laser beams now on their freaking heads.
Exactly, because you need laser beams in your Dungeons & Dragons game. There were no laser beams. The room was very bland. The only features were these urns or pictures on the wall that had fish statues attached to them. They get thrown into this room. They don't even know how they got there. The last thing they remember, they were partying in a tavern after a successful adventure. And they hear a disembodied voice call out from all about them. 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, 4. Find the door or leave this place nevermore. And from there, you know, the one wall, a secret door slides open and a shark comes barreling out. They kind of like figure out that something's going on, and you know their first idea that they're going to have to do battle with the shark is one of the players is actually down in the water with their face kind of like half submerged, so they can look under this door, and the first thing that they see is the maw of the shark coming at them. That's kind of how things kicked off. Every round, another door on a different wall with the corresponding number of sharks coming out of that chute until they got to 3 and 4. Well, each round I would describe the water that's coming out of these urns into the room is filling it up. So, you know, I would first describe, hey, it's at your knees. And I figured that's like the bare minimum the shark's going to need to kind of get around. And then I'm like, oh, you know, round 2, now it's up to your thighs.
So how big of a room was it?
20 by 20.
20 by 20. And how big a shark did you say?
It's a medium size. The reef shark is like the weakest of the sharks. So it was... I figured, you know, I didn't want to use something large or huge, and really the sharks weren't meant to be the real threat.
Right, they were meant to be a nuisance.
Yes, why they try and figure out, it was supposed to be more of a puzzle than a combat.
Right.
But my players, they just wanted to focus on killing the sharks.
And taking their stuff?
And taking their stuff.
Ooh, what sweet, sweet treasure did the shark have?
The
shark teeth.
Yeah. No, they have tires inside their bellies.
Or license plates.
Yeah. Sharks eat weird shit.
So the players reacted to there's something to fight, let me fight it, rather than there's a problem going on. Let's deal with the problem.
Round 3, I said, hey, you got, because they already kind of they had figured out the pattern already. They'd already vocalized it. So round 3, I had to really reiterate and go, guys, the sharks haven't really been hurting you very much and haven't been that much of a threat to you guys. But the room is filling with water and you're not going to be able to breathe. And it took that for them to finally prompt some of them to start, like, you know, not focusing on the sharks and searching the urns to see if there was a mechanism or some way to stop the water from coming in and basically not drowned. So
did they succeed in this mission, or did your game just end with them drowning?
I was a little concerned it might end in them drowning. They eventually kind of got the hit and did start searching around the urns, and they figured out how to stop the water from coming.
Wasn't
in.
it just like 1, 2, 3, 4, basically?
Yes.
Wouldn't that would be the combination of an idiot's luggage? That's Spaceballs reference. Or no, I need to change the combination of my luggage, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, but we did look up the rules on drowning, and I think you had kind of previously looked it up, or suffocation or whatever. Yeah. It basically takes minutes for people, and in combat rounds, that could be like an hour or 2. Really,
it wouldn't quite be an hour or 2.
But as the DM, I didn't want this combat to go on.
Yeah.
It would be irritating. It's like, okay, well, you're just going to fight sharks until they either nibble you to death or you drown.
Or eventually they cannot move anymore because there's too many dead sharks in the room. By the time it finished, there was 10 dead sharks in the room.
Did they really just keep coming? The sharks just kept coming? Is the thing?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it's 10.
Yeah.
And the way, in my mind, the way it was going to work, if they went through a second time, up to 20 sharks, that's when the room will be completely filled and there's no longer any air for you to get.
Yeah.
And then I would have really just started over and kept adding 10, every 4 rounds, 10 sharks.
Yeah.
So that was utterly crazy. And sometimes players are so involved in the actual game that they aren't thinking the way the person in the situation should be thinking. When it's up to your ankles or your knees, okay, is that really, I need to worry about this? But if it happened in 6 seconds that the water just, it covered a quarter of my body, I'm going to be like, all right, how do I get out of this thing? And 12 seconds in and you're half submerged. Holy crap, I need to get out of here now.
Yeah. Well, and so what Dave was doing as the dungeon master, it was creating a tell, right? Like, hey, this one round of action goes by, it's this high, and it keeps going up. Like, having threats progress in a way is a way of telling your character, choreographing to your players, this is what's going to ultimately happen. Are you going to do anything about it? What are you going to do about it?
And I felt like I think the problem is we play role-playing games.
And it also could maybe be the online playing games because it might just be a different experience that people aren't as accustomed to.
Yeah, it could be. But I think the disconnect is, like, when you're talking about what's going on, it's not the same as actually experiencing it. And it's not happening in real time either. So it feels like you probably have a lot more time because let's face it, what is the saying? A 6 minute combat, takes 2 hours, but a 2 day trek or 2 week trek takes
2 minutes,
something like that, paraphrasing. But yeah, that absolutely, I think that suspension of belief that doesn't happen when you do that. So it makes players have trouble thinking about when you have more than one thing going on at a time.
So I guess, really you have to look at when you're playing, you have to look at all of the things that are going on, not just the thing that's staring you right in the face.
So yeah, sometimes it's hard to put yourself in your character's shoes and go, well, what would I really be worried about? And you're like, sharks. Freaking sharks are freaking scary. I'm worried about sharks.
But on the other hand, too, you're like, oh, well, my character's really competent at fighting things, but not really competent in breathing indefinitely underwater.
Yeah.
Unless you're the one lucky character with the ring of water breathing.
Or you're playing a Triton.
Yeah. I'm a lizard folk. I got 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and to top it off, like, one of the things they did key on really quick was like, oh, well, one of the characters is a tabaxi, so like, I'm climbing the wall. I do not want to be in the water. Yeah. And then slowly, one by one, the other players are like, you know what? I don't want to be in the water either. And they would climb to the top of the urns. And so I'm like, well, that gets you out of the water, and it also kind of would have gotten them out of danger sooner. Because as a DM, I don't like to give my players only one way to do something. So there was actually 2 ways. One was to stick your hand in the urn. There was a lever. You had to turn them in sequence, and that would stop the water from coming in, drain it, and give you a way out. The other idea was if someone would prop open the door, stuff something in there, one of the chutes. The only way you could get them open is if they were already open. You were able to get a handhold. But I figured out,
or a crowbar would probably work wonders for that.
Yeah. Once you create the space so you can at least get under there, no problem. Other than that, it's seamless. But so I was like, well, the other way out for them is if they actually were to, get one of those open, pry one of those open, and then they could go out through the door, through one of the shark chutes. And it would just take them to a different place in the dungeon. So I'm like, all right, well, I feel like I'm giving them more than one option here. And the players will figure something out between the two.
They did think about it first round. The guy stuck his sword underneath one of the things.
Yes.
But when the second chute opened, he's like, "Well, I need my sword."
Yeah. I need some sharks need to be killing.
I mean, there's also too, as a dungeon master, one of the things I would be thinking about is if you had a rogue in the party and they would want to try to disarm the mechanism or disarm the because it's a trap. It's a Bond villain trap. So maybe coming up with some mechanics or ad hocing what that might be would be maybe a third option of where that could go.
Yeah, but that would literally just be them searching and be like, oh, wait a minute. Here's the mechanisms here.
So
yeah, right. This is, well, I mean, maybe it's they investigate all of it and they figure out, oh, there is a sequence. And as the rogue player, like they're probably good at logic puzzles and disarming. Disarming traps is its own kind of logic puzzle. So
yeah, we actually had 2 rogues.
Double rogue.
Yeah. Well, they weren't that kind of rogue, I think. Sneak attack.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm curious to see what kind of these situations that crop up in your game where you're like, why are my players not thinking about this? Why aren't they worried about this? Did I just miss it as the DM, and this is just beyond what they're going to think about? That's the reason why I try not to use really tough puzzles in my games, because a lot of times that stuff just gets missed, or even like using mysteries and stuff like that.
If the clues are super small, then you can expect them to walk right past those clues. Like, so they have to be like
neon signs.
You have to hit them with a clue by 4 in the head.
I think so. And that was a horrible pun.
I did a mystery game that's actually... I've done a couple of them that have run successfully, where I had a character that was like... I was doing like a sort of a were-rat Jack the Ripper thing, but he wasn't actually a were-rat. There was just like... there were some red herrings, but it still led you guys in the direction I wanted, and it worked. Where it's like you were following tracks, but also on the victims there was like these slash marks that looked like it could have been some sort of creature, but they were just using sickles. And there was rat fur because he had pipes of the sewers, so he's commanding like dire rats to like chew on things, and there's also chew marks on there. There was all these things to say, hey, this threat from the sewer is probably attacking. You could probably see there was like some muck or whatever around. It led you guys to where I wanted, and it did put the false impression of were-rats, like it was the obvious thing, and it was just some guy who was kind of crazy and was murdering former criminal accomplices.
The adventurers spent 3 weeks searching for silver weapons before they even got
Yeah. But no, yeah, you guys, like, you were only a 2nd or 3rd level party with it, I think. So were-rats might have been terrifying, but you guys went along for the ride and were rewarded by the fact that it wasn't actually a were-rat. So that worked out.
Should have just made aware rats. Teach your players right away. Yes, I'm being a dick.
What about you guys out there? Do you have any awesome DM stories where the players just didn't pick up on the clues you were letting down? Why don't you share those in the comments below? While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
Hang out with us over on nerdarchy.com.
And while you're there, you can check out Nerdarchy, the store!
So until next time, stay nerdy.